I've been going to the doctor now, and now my answer is I don't know, so let's check for it anyway. You understand what I'm saying? Because I don't know. I don't know, right?
Yep.
And although I'm not gonna lie, right? Although some of these procedures a little invasive, we don't want it done. I rather know and be proactive than not know, right? So I actually signed up. I'm actually going to see a specialist, a GI specialist, I think next couple of weeks, because I want them to actually do, I'll be 46 this year. So I want them to be, I want them to get it done because I'd rather know, right? I'd rather know. I'm gonna put the pride to the side. I'd rather know so I can be proactive. So at least I can say, at least I did it. So, I know. So a lot of it is education from the family. Yeah.
I love what you're saying right now. You hit so many points. I don't even know where to begin.
Yeah.
But number one, kudos to you.
Yeah.
For getting that colonoscopy. I can't wait to hear on the podcast all the details.
No, we're not. You guys put that. I don't want to hear about his ass on the damn show. Our listeners do not.
They got that. That's about the most they gonna get.
I want to vlog. I want to see the whole experience start to finish. The prep.
I'm
just gonna throw the thumbs up, like.
That sounds wild.
That sounds wild. You know what? In the history of the podcast, I don't think that I've ever given myself a whoa, but you know what I'm saying. That was kind of crazy. I ain't gonna lie. That was kind of crazy.
But in all seriousness, yes.
He had to give him one. He had to give himself one.
I had to give myself one on that one. I ain't gonna lie.
Oh yeah, no, it's well deserved. It's well deserved. But no, we have to talk about these things, right? I mean, family secrets like that can kill because people are, I think especially in our communities, very hush hush about that stuff. We don't talk about that stuff. We're minding our own business, but that can, if you talk about it, you can really save a loved one's life. You can save a family member's life because if you have a family history of colorectal cancer, you should start your screening earlier than people who don't. So I encourage people to ask their parents, ask their siblings, like, what's your medical history? It's not to be nosy. It's so that, if anything, it's selfish for yourself, but it's also affects their children. It affects your children. And so it's critically important. That's like a big risk factor for colorectal cancer.
Yeah.
And I think like the other point you touched upon was, it's invasive, but it has to be done. I mean, I think there's a huge stigma about, booty holes, cameras, men.
Hey, yo.
That's exactly what our audience is saying. That's what our audience is saying.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
that's what they're saying. They're intelligent, but they're immature, Doc.
Right. I am. I'm like, you want to put a camera where? Nah, that ain't happening.
But it's such a huge reason why people never make it to the doctor. And it's the best sleep you'll ever have. You're gonna get some great medication to make you sleepy. It's obviously a totally it's a non-sexual, totally medical. Like I don't remember people's butts. I don't remember what their colon looks like. Like you don't want me to, right? Because that means everything was fine. Right. But there's such mental gymnastics that happen in some people's heads.
Yeah.
That will just not allow them to take that first step. But I also tell people if you don't get screened on time because you're worried about a colonoscopy, you may have many more colonoscopies in your future, right?
Yeah, that's real.
Much more invasive things in your future that you don't want and you could have prevented. And so that's really important. And I hate it when
it's mostly us. It's culture.
Sad to see.
That's what I'm saying. It's a culture thing.
It's the culture.
It's the culture, but I just want to ask you this, Doc, because you touched on something that I think we really need to just dive deeper on a little bit. The fact that you said a lot of these cancers don't have any symptoms. Mm-hmm. See, this you mix that with the problem that guys in general, men in general, don't go to the doctors as often as women anyway, right? We don't, women go for the annuals, the pap smear, the breast. Yeah. Guys don't really do it anyway. So we like Cuzzo said, we only go when we think something is wrong, right? But so I'm trying to think, how do we raise the level of awareness when these are so many things that don't cause any issues to let us know that there's something wrong?
Yeah. That's a good question. I think that's why I think it's so important for men, even if they're young and healthy, just to see even just like a primary care doc or a primary care, professional, because that's the doorway for them to see me. Right. A lot of times they have to see them first. But when I was talking about how, unfortunately, for Black and brown folks, we have worse rates of colorectal cancer and we're more likely to die from it. It's not like it's on us, and that's not my message. A big part of things too is that people aren't recommended to even get a colonoscopy. So that's where that medical anthropology comes in. That's where that bias comes in. Like, why? Like, is there an assumption that I'm just not even going to go? Like, why aren't you recommending this to me, though you're recommending it to X, Y, and Z?